se siente cómo, a pesar de los países que cada ley hayan aprobado esta ley, de que haya la moneda puertorriqueña que ella va a poder
Good evening. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but I can't hear anything in the room.
Hey, we can hear you. We haven't started quite just yet, so we will
Oh,
get.
okay, no problem. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an issue. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. You're not missing out on anything we're talking about. Our
Yes.
days.
You just reached quorum.
Yes, we just reached quorum, so we'll be getting started shortly.
Happy. Okay.
All right, we're just about to get started. Tiffany, are you, it looks like your students are with us as well. Great, okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we're going to call this meeting to order at, is that 7:13 p.m.? And I'm joined by most of my committee members, or at least a majority of them. O.C. Kaminer, my assistant chair.
Hello.
Jacob Banis, our non-beast. Heidi Guzman, Jody Herson, and Carmen Paulino. So we have 6 of our 9 members. 1, 2, yep. And 2 of them, one of them said he was going to be remote, Jonathan Fermata, but we don't see him yet. And Elvin is distracted by a work assignment, and and Richard, I think, said he was going to join late. So we have a shorter, I believe, agenda than we had last month. Was certainly far less contentious, and so I don't think we're going to. I think this may be a more relaxed meeting than we had a month ago. So we're going to start with a presentation on nutrition and food policy advocacy from Tiffany Lee, the executive director from Altagracia Faith and Justice Works, an organization which I've heard of for several years and have been meeting to reach out to. And I'm glad that Tiffany chose to come to our meeting, I think in June, and then we rapidly signed her up to come here and speak to us. And she's joined by 2 of her students, and I'm probably going to screw up Raymalie Gonzalez's name, and then how bad did I screw it up? Not that bad. Oh,
Can't hear you.
okay. And also Inez Jimenez Montserrat, and hopefully I did okay on that one as well. So Tiffany, why don't you go ahead and give us your presentation? And you sent me an email asking whether or not it was we would be willing to pass a resolution in support of legislation that's pending in Albany in the state legislature, and that is something that we have done from time to time. That's not that unusual or unorthodox for us to do. So don't hold back. If you have something you think we should be supporting, let us know about it.
Wonderful. Well, that's a great preface. I'm glad to know that before going into the presentation. Thank you so much. All right. I think I should be able to share my screen here. Okay. Can you all see the screen and hear me?
Very
okay?
good. Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Steve. And thank you, everyone, for having us join this committee meeting. As Steve said, my name is Tiffany Lee, and I'm the executive director of Altagracia Faith and Justice Works. I'm joined by 2 of my colleagues, some of our youth advocates, who I'll allow to introduce themselves in just a moment. So I wanted to just introduce our organization first for anyone who is not familiar. We are a faith-based, community-based organization in Northern Manhattan, and we're located, actually share space here at the Church of St. Jude on 204th Street and 10th Avenue. And our mission is that we empower community leaders to put faith into action and promote social justice through faith formation, leadership development, service and advocacy opportunities, and through community organizing to affect essential local change. So we do this in a few major program areas. One is organizing social justice ministry teams, which are members of the community, oftentimes members of local churches, who come together to prioritize different social justice issues in the neighborhood that they'd like to work on. So that has spanned everything from affordable housing and tenant rights to environmental justice, doing uptown cleanups and advocacy for the Green New Deal. We are currently working on hunger, food justice, and nutrition policies, also through the social justice ministry teams. And then we look for connections into the other major area of our work, which is our youth service learning program. And that is a program for high school students, open to anyone in New York City. The program is called Global Thinking, Local Action, Universal Impact, or GLU, GLU for short. And then we seek connections between our youth work and the broader work through the social justice ministry team organizing in the local community. And some examples of this are like the Community Fridge Project that we support here on 205th Street, that was started by our social justice ministry teams, is really supported by a broad network of volunteers, and also specifically is a great way for our youth to get involved in that service opportunity. And then another opportunity for this collaborative work is the advocacy campaigns that we're going to be explaining a little bit more about in this presentation. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge our partners on this campaign work, the Interfaith Public Health Network, IPHN, and the Center for Science in the Public Interest, CSPI. And they've also organized a number of faith-based and other community-based networks and organizations throughout New York City to join this campaign. So we want to make sure that we acknowledge all of their hard work to bring us together, and also to preface all of this in saying that we are not experts on any of these issues. We are, again, grounded in our mission of putting faith into action, and really, as you'll see in a moment, really uplifting the voices of our youth to be able to speak out and to take action on social justice issues as well. So if there are any questions that we are not able to answer this evening, we're happy to forward those to CSPI and IPHN to get those questions answered for you, or to arrange another meeting or briefing with their experts. So we're really a bridge building organization and like to connect folks with all these opportunities. Also, our partners really include our wonderful youth interns and advocates, two of whom are able to join us tonight, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Inez Jimenez Montserrat, student at Manhattan University, Dramalee Gonzalez from Academy Mount St. Ursula, and then three interns that have also put in quite a bit of work on these campaigns who weren't able to join us tonight. They have class. So Afua Apoku from NYU, Amber Perez from City College of New York, and Eleni Jimenez from Baruch College. And we want to give them our thanks as well. All right, so Inez and Dramalee, do you want to introduce yourselves now?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Inez Jimenez. I am an international student athlete from Spain. I'm a senior in environmental studies at Manhattan University, and I'm also a basketball player. And I joined Altagracia Faith and Justice Works a couple weeks ago. I talked to her and I just loved what she was working on, and I just wanted to help the community. And I hope you enjoy this presentation.
Hello, my name is Dramalee Gonzalez. I'm a senior at the Academy of Mount St. Ursula. I joined Altagracia in the summer, and I've been working with her, with Miss Lee, ever since-ish.
All right. And Dramalee, do you want to speak a little bit about your experience and background in the youth involvement through the GLU program?
So this summer, I did the Hunger and Food Justice GLU program, a week-long intensive program that has service with workshops, dialogues, reflections, activities, simulations, and a final project that incorporates everything we've learned to see the full range of approaches to address the issue, service to our community organizing, through community organizing, advocacy, and civic engagement. The direct service opportunities that we focused on were food pantries, soup kitchens, and community fridges, specifically our community fridge. We had speakers that work in the field and work for direct service organizations and activities that illustrate several aspects of food insecurity, serving our community, which specifically we did a bodega survey to see how unhealthy foods that are very close and accessible to us are, and educational demos. I joined the Glue program and learned about a lot of harmful ingredients that are put into food and sold to the public, which made me not just want to learn about what bills and policies are there that advocate for change in this, but also what I can do to support said bills and policies.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the policies. So the rising and unsustainable rates of diet-related diseases in New York State are inequitable, impacting communities of color and people living in poverty. And we demand a response from our faith communities. And these science-based policies offer positive steps toward a healthier food environment. And I'm going to briefly talk about 6 of the policies, and then we're going to explain more deeply 4 of them. The first one is the Predatory Marketing Prevention Act, which is holding food marketers accountable for predatory and misleading unhealthy food and beverage ads aimed at children and other vulnerable groups. The second one is excessive sodium warning labels, which is requiring chain restaurants to post warnings on menu items with more than a day's worth of 2,300 milligrams of sodium. The third one is high added sugars warning labels, which is requiring restaurants to post warnings on menu items with more than a day's worth of 50 grams or 12.5 teaspoons of added sugars. The fourth is the harmful chemical additive ban, which is banning especially health-harming and pervasive chemicals found in food, including potassium bromate, propyl parabens, red dye 3, azolia carbonamide, BHA, and titanium dioxide. The fifth one is the chemical additive transparency, requiring food and beverage manufacturers to report certain chemical additives in food sold in New York State. And the last one is the Healthy Kids Meal Standards, which establishes nutrition standards for kids' meals offered in restaurants in New York City.
Okay, so I just wanted to preface some of the descriptions of the bills with a little bit of background on the chemical additives issue. Of course, I'm sure all of you know that the Food and Drug Administration is really the national or the federal agency responsible for the safety of the substances that are added to our food before and after they come to market. However, the FDA has been notoriously a bit lax and a bit slow on regulating these chemical additives. And food companies have then been able to make use of certain loopholes, such as the generally recognized as safe or the GRAS loophole, without much scrutiny or much transparency. So we actually were involved in a recent hearing that the FDA opened to the public, which is based on a new discussion paper that they issued proposing a new framework for adding chemicals to their regulatory process, to their review post-market. So they're proposing to have a more rigorous process, and they invited consumer advocates, representatives from the food industry, academics, as well as members of the public to give testimony about generally this proposal that based on this discussion paper, as well as sort of giving general feedback. And I testified in that hearing a couple weeks ago, and there is actually still the opportunity to give written testimony based on this discussion paper up until December 6th, I believe is the cutoff deadline for that. So if anyone is interested in reading more and submitting any written testimony, I know our interns and some board members are going to be following up with some written testimony as well. So I'm happy to forward that on.
Can you share the link in the chat?
I think so. Yes.
The comments. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Definitely. So That sort of gives a little bit of background for then this bill at the New York State level, which would then require food manufacturers to report chemical additives in food sold in New York State. So again, broadly, because the federal regulations are not sufficient, we're looking to the New York State level to really be a leader, both for all of us New York State residents and also to kind of set the example for the rest of the country. We also wanted to, if the video will cooperate, show a brief 30-second clip of some of the work of one of our other interns to raise awareness about some of these harmful chemicals in a way that is more accessible in like a short video TikTok type format. So let me see if this will work for us.
Don't exist.
Oh, not Skittles. Intimates, oh, come on, no.
It's all junk.
Oh, no, not Intimates, please.
All right, let me see. Oh, I lost the whole screen. 1 second.
Those weren't the chocolate chip cookies, were they?
So what was the purpose of this 30-second video?
Well, to show us examples of foods that have chemical additives, I assume, right?
Well,
Yeah.
we can add probably 500 more
Oh, yeah, sure.
items.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's just to raise awareness about the prevalence of these additives in popular foods that their peers would go to for a quick afternoon snack to see how it's in a lot of their favorite foods. And hopefully to then inspire them to take action on understanding that these foods that they like, and we'll get into this in the next slide too, have these harmful chemicals that are included in the products that are sold in the United States, but not necessarily in other countries, and they could very well be taken out.
Yep.
So there is then a federal regulation that requires the food manufacturers to disclose the additives, isn't there?
Well, so what I was referring to is the generally recognized as safe loophole is that oftentimes they can get them in without approval by saying that they've been recognized as safe, but sometimes they're used for other purposes and not necessarily in that same way that they're going to be used. I think like one example they gave was those energy drinks with caffeine and alcohol, like, right, that like those things separately are generally recognized as safe, but hadn't been recognized as safe when combined, and then were incredibly problematic after the fact. So there's a lot of leeway in how they can get these chemicals in beforehand.
But they are being disclosed to the public, aren't they? The presence of the chemicals in the products?
I think that there's not as much actually currently required. So that's why in the last slide, we're doing two chemical additives bill. One is requiring more transparency in the process, and then the second one is an actual ban on certain harmful chemicals. And Inez, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sorry. So as she said, the FDA actually takes insufficient action to protect consumers. Even safety risks are discovered, and some additives authorized by the FDA, like Red 3, berylated BHA, sorry, ADA, potassium bromate, are a potential cause of cancer according to the FDA itself, and others like titanium dioxide and BVO are linked to other adverse effects like DNA damage and reproductive harm. And actually last year, California became the first state to ban Red 3, BBO, and potassium bromate and propyl paraben. And that's why if New York State bans these chemicals at the state level, can make other states want to do the same and put some pressure on the FDI to actually regulate these chemicals. And the next, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah, I'm trying to. There we go.
So here we have a table that with the chemicals, what type of chemicals, the health concerns that you could have by taking those chemicals, the function in the food, it could be colorant, preservative, antioxidant. Then we have the estimated prevalence in the US foods and beverages. And lastly, we also have which chemicals have been banned in the European Union and in California. And I think this is really interesting because most of them are actually banned in the European Union. And since 2020, or since last year, California banned some of them. So it's really important to actually make sure we ban those here in New York and in the United States. The next policy is the Healthy Kids Meal Standards. And some families with children consume food away from home for 4 to 5 times a week on average. And the 2021 national survey found that one in 6 parents say their children eat fast food at least twice a week. And a 2018 analysis found that among the chains with kids menus, 71.9% of kids' meal did not meet expert nutrition standards. And caregivers and children themselves want healthier kids' meals in restaurants. And what this policy is doing is trying to establish nutrition standards for kids' meals offered in restaurants in New York City.
We would like to share that good news that we have 36 co-sponsors on this policy, including our 2 local council members, Carmen de la Cruz and Sean Abreu. We'll inform you if this goes to public hearing or straight to a vote.
So is this a city council bill?
Yes, so this is the only bill out of the 6 that is at the city council level only. The others are state level bills. And as Dramely was saying, this one does have a supermajority at the moment. And so there is discussion about whether there will be a public hearing or whether there is actually so much support that it could potentially go straight to a vote. And we do want to thank our council members, Carmen de la Rosa and Sean Abreu.
Well, nothing in the city council goes straight to a vote without having a public hearing. I believe that there was a prior version of that bill several years ago that this community board did pass a resolution in support of. This sounds very familiar, and I think the bill at that time was sponsored by Councilmember Kalos from the Upper East Side, who's no longer in the council. So, and I could dig it out. So maybe we could just re-endorse it once. This would still be a current bill. It would still be so we could pull out our previous resolution and maybe just update it.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. And this one is sponsored by Councilmember Riley. And so I apologize. I did get that thing about the hearing from one of his staff members, but I could be mistaken on the specifics around that.
Yeah, I worked in the city council for 24 years.
Okay, great. Well, it's good to know that the community board has supported something similar to this in the past.
Yeah,
so
I bet it's the same bill. It's not unusual for bills that don't get passed to then be picked up in the succeeding session by another council member.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So the next one that we have here is also at the state level, and this is the Predatory Marketing Prevention Act. So a little bit of background. on the need for this. So children see food advertisements on television, in schools, online, which can impact their food preferences very, very strongly. Much of the food marketing that they're exposed to is for unhealthy foods, including sugary drinks and fast food. In 2018, 23% of all advertisements that aired during children's television programming were for food and beverages, and 65% of programs advertised failed to meet the food industry's self-regulatory nutrition standards. One study reported 72% of children and adolescents reporting exposure to food and beverage marketing on various social media apps. This policy attempts to hold food marketers accountable for predatory and misleading unhealthy food and beverage ads aimed at kids. And we also know that a lot of this is also aimed at low-income communities of color. And so we are particularly concerned about this, again, as a food justice issue. So this is, again, at the state level. Here's just a few photos of some of our youth in action on these policies over the last year. We did a community outreach tabling event at a Trick or Streets event last year around this time. So typically when kids walking by, they're getting Halloween candy, trick-or-treating. We were passing out healthy foods, apples, and doing guessing games to see how much added sugar is in our beverages and how much fat is in our different fast food meals, to kind of play a guessing game and draw people into the table to learn a little bit more, and then to learn about the policies that we were advocating for. And again, really doing like peer-to-peer learning and having some of our high school students work with the kids and adolescents coming to the table. We also have a picture over to the right of our GLUE Youth Service Learning Program with students participating in a food distribution in a food pantry there. So again, the GLUE program really serves as a pipeline into the next steps to take on this leadership and advocacy. And why this matters to us. So again, our mission is all about putting faith into action for social justice, and we see food justice as an integral part of that. Also, as a faith-based organization, we see faith in food as very much connected. We gather together as a community to to fellowship around food, around meals. In our Christian faith, we see food as nourishment, give us this day our daily bread. The Eucharist at church, the call from Matthew 25 to feed and to clothe and to give drink to the thirsty. And all of that we see not as just an access to quantity issue, but really access to quality, and that it matters not only that we are giving, but what we're giving. And going back to an image that we like to use in our service program is 2 feet of love in action. We get this image from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops that is 1 foot is short-term service and 1 foot is long-term social justice work. And the idea is that we need both. We need both short-term action to meet people's immediate needs, and we also need long-term solutions that address structural issues. And so we try to do that both in our service learning program and now taking the next steps to really try to implement these policies for long-term social change. And really all of this is very much in line with the youth concerns that we hear. So when they're in our service learning program, all of these foods that we're talking about that are highly palatable, that are the go-tos for their snacks after school at the bodega, they're very familiar, very recognizable to the students in the program. And then they are kind of shocked to learn how far the gap is between what they're consuming and what the nutrition standards are. And also to understand the connection with the diet-related diseases and to recognize that so many of their family members, of loved ones, people in the community are experiencing these. And so, the youth that go through the program really get fired up about learning about this too. So all of this comes from that grassroots experience of working with them.
The Community Board 12 can help us by connecting us with nonprofit organizations, faith-based institutions, schools, community groups, parent associations, etc. They can read the memo in support of the chemical additives bill, share information on the chemical additives bill, and consider a resolution in support for the chemical additives bill. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all.
And again, we're happy to answer any questions and also to direct any further questions to IPHN and CSPI. And I did include the contact information for Bob Pezzalesi from Interfaith Public Health Network here as well.
All right. I'd appreciate if you'd also send me the this PowerPoint presentation, so
Sure.
we can make sure we have the correct information. The chemical. How many youth do you have involved in the program? This seems. I'm very impressed by the involvement that you. The extent to which you have engaged young people. How many people do you have?
Yeah, so each session is a week long during the breaks from school. So we offer one session in February, one in April, and one over the summer. And each of those ranges between 12 to 20 students at a time. So we cycle through, and some students decide to come back and return to see different sessions. So one session is on hunger and food justice, one is on environmental justice, and one is on housing and homelessness. So they can really get a diversity of different experiences by participating in each of the different sessions. And we also vary each session year to year. So we cover the same key topics, but like the service experience may be different from year to year that they're doing. We alternate speakers so that it's a fresh take on the issue from year to year. So we have students sometimes returning throughout their whole high school career with us. And then we try to offer opportunities for leadership for those that are really interested in pursuing the topic beyond the week-long program. And so currently we have 5 interns that are working with us on a more involved sort of level. Dreamily and Inez are 2 of the 5.
And are most of them from the Washington Heights Inwood community?
I would say Washington Heights, Inwood, and the Bronx. And Harlem too. Yeah, I would say uptown, broadly speaking.
All right, and one more question: the chemical additives bill. That's one that's in Albany. Is that correct? In the state legislature.
Yes, and there's actually 2, and yes, they're both at the state level.
Yeah. So my inclination, unless my committee members disagree, would be to wait until these bills are reintroduced in January, when they would get fresh numbers, and if we, rather than pass a resolution now and then send it up to Albany, it probably would get lost, and the file would be thrown away at the end of the year. But might as well wait till the bills are active again in January. That would be my sense. But I want to pull out the resolution we did on the city council bill, because I think that one maybe we could take a look at passing again next month.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Osi?
Yes, so I know that some chemicals have more than, actually most of them probably have more than one name. So what the food industry is doing in using one name, and then they change it after a while to confuse the consumers. So I wonder if you touch on that in some of your policy, in terms of policy, if you touch on that and you're trying to pass some sort of a policy that if a manufacturer of whatever food is using X chemical, they should input exactly all the names that associate with that chemical, because they're really tricky. They know how to change it. They do it all the time. The other thing, this is just a recommendation for all of you, if you didn't already. There are 2 really good books. One of them is The Future of Nutrition by Dr. Colin Campbell. He's connecting the food certain food with cancer. And the other one is The Meat You Eat by Ken Mitkiff. Talking about the meat industry, and he is not a vegetarian. I want to say it up front. It's not like a crazy kind of thing. So, it's probably a little bit beyond what you're trying to achieve in your bills, because at least the Ken Mitkiff is talking about the industry, the practice. But some of it is related to nutrition and food. So one of the things that I'm thinking for myself, you mentioned bodegas before, and I'm thinking, all right, should we have some sort of a rule that a bodega have to carry some fresh produce? Certain amount, like a percentage of fresh produce must be on shelves in a bodega to just widen the variety of food that people come in, and maybe will grab an apple as opposed to grabbing a bag of chips. So it's just something to think about. It's really, I'm sure it's really hard to work on that, but I think it's a good idea to start with something like that. So just my
Well, the city, I think it would be very difficult to enforce any kind of strict rule on a percentage of nutritious products. But I do remember the city had a very active program several years ago encouraging bodegas to stock fresh produce and nutritious items. I don't know, maybe Pauline from the health department recalls that program. I don't know whether it's still in effect. But the city was actively pursuing that.
I think some part of this conversation, maybe more broadly, is like food deserts and stuff like that, right? Because maybe the bodega doesn't need to carry the produce if there's a fruit stand next door or near, or like a supermarket that actually sells produce nearby. I remember, I think I was maybe in high school. I remember I was doing an internship, and we like did a program where we sort of like mapped in East Harlem where places were that were selling fruits. That might be something that, like, in the work that you guys do, you could send the students out to kind of like map where are things available in the community, where, and not just available, but also affordability. Because, right, one of the benefits of a bodega is that it could be more affordable than, I don't know, a Whole Foods or whatever in terms of produce, or like the fruit stands tend to be pretty affordable, but it doesn't last very long. So,
and they don't always have
a
license.
everything. Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have done that. That was part of the bodega activity that Dramalee was referencing. And again, we see these issues as so interconnected. We were also doing it for years now. As Steve mentioned, we've been involved on a number of different community issues. We were making note of that, particularly in terms of like the informal economy, right? Of folks who are selling fruit on the side of the road who are not necessarily a Whole Foods. And that came up during the Inwood rezoning. We're located on 204th Street between 9th Ave and 10th Ave. And that area was kind of called like underutilized in a lot of the hearings and the meetings. And a lot of that informal economy doesn't always get recognized. So I think that's an excellent point to recognize that, that even the formal stores, whether that's a chain store like a Whole Foods or a bodega, could be also side by side with other very, very active parts of our community and economy, like a local fruit vendor or a food truck, or all of these things.
One last thing that I forgot to mention, about 15-ish or so years ago, Columbia University had a study that called the $1 Million Block. It's probably available online. They tried to figure out the hotspots or area where they have rearrests, and why is it? Why those area is, so like a hot pockets of rearrests. And so one of the things that they found is, one of them is street trees, not related to what we're talking today, with the lack of street trees. The other thing is the lack of like food deserts. And so it's something to maybe highlight. City council need to hear that. But I would say go to Columbia University website. I'm sure it's available somewhere, or just plugged in the $1 Million Block and find out if you can get more information from the professor that put it together. It was fascinating study.
That's great. And actually, one of our glue sessions focuses on environmental justice, and we did a tree planting at a street tree across from our office here on 204th Street. And if anyone is interested, I have about 150 daffodil bulbs that we would like to plant in street trees. It's another little side project. So if anybody would like to do some daffodil bulb planting with us, I know it's not a street tree, but let me know.
I may be in touch with you about that.
Okay, great.
All right, so any other questions? All right, very good. So Tiffany, you're going to be coming back to us from time to time. You're going to be updating us on the work you're doing and on the status of that legislation. And and if you want to bring back Inez and Dramely, they're certainly welcome to come back. Open invitation to all of you. And I'm very pleased that we finally made contact with Altagracia.
Me too. Thank you so much. We're very happy to be with you. We're happy to come back, and I will drop in the chat I'll look up the link for the FDA hearing paper. I know that was a question.
Very good.
And I'll forward you any other materials that you'd want to forward out to the committee members.
Okay. Do you have on that city council bill about the nutritious meals for kids? Do you have the number of that bill?
I got it.
You have it? Okay. All right. I withdraw the question.
When is the hearing?
What?
When is the hearing?
No. There is no hearing schedule.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
All right. All right. Very good. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is our borough liaison for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. But first, I have to give my brief report on COVID-19. The latest statistics taken from the DOH-MH website today show that zip code 40 is ranked fairly high among the 177 zip codes in New York City, number 9 for the hospitalization rate for the 28-day period from August 30th to September 26th. This is very unusual. I don't recall any of our zip codes ever being that high up on the list. It's 25 hospitalizations per 100,000 people. Doesn't sound like a lot, but in the scheme of things, it's fairly high among the rest of the city. The other 3 zip codes are all in the lower range. Zip code 32 is 14.3 hospitalizations per 100,000, ranked as number 45. Zip code 34, 14.2, ranked as number 46. Zip code 33, 13.7 hospitalizations, ranked as number 51. The good news is that even though there have been 245 additional cases of COVID in our 4 zip codes since the last time we met, there have been no additional deaths, which we haven't always been able to say during these reports. So on that note, let me turn it over to Pauline. Thank you for joining us once again. And can you now unmute yourself and give us your report?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Pauline Ferranti from the Health Department. I'm going to share my screen because Steve sent me a whole bunch of questions. He wanted me to go over many health topics he wanted me to share today. So we can let's start with flu. So the tracking period is actually October through May. So our last report was May 18th, week 20. And of course, since we're in October, the tracking will begin again. And so come back to this website for the influenza surveillance report. But as we can see, for the year 2023, 2024, the trend went downward, and we were sort of in par with other years in terms of flu and RSV. So actually RSV was pretty low on the scale for the week ending May 18th. Again, I encourage everyone to utilize our website because we do have a wealth of knowledge. With regards to Mpox, there isn't anything major right now in the city, but we are tracking it. And we update our website every second Thursday of the month. So luckily we met on the second Thursday of this month instead of the first. So we have the most updated information as it was updated today at 1 p.m. So as of January of this year, 371 people in New York City have tested positive for Mpox. And there were 20 new cases detected last month or last tracking period between September 8th to October 5th. So we, of course, want everyone to be aware of how it's transmitted and prevention. So we do have information on our page about where you can get a vaccine for it, especially if you are in that vulnerable population or more likely to, engage in activity that would lead you to be more susceptible to contracting Mpox. But of course, we want people to know that there is a vaccine available, and it is on the Vaccine Finder website, which I can also share with you all. I'm sure, you guys are all very familiar with the Vaccine Finder website, but let me just pull it up in case no one's seen it before. So the Vaccine Finder is really great because it has all three immunizations that people most likely need, especially for this season. So it's COVID-19, flu, and Mpox. So if you're interested in any of these, you can click on them and then you can put in your zip and find the closest location where you can get the vaccine. So for West Nile virus, we do have a very sort of detailed summary of the mosquito pools that tested positive throughout all of the city and broken down by borough, not by zip. But we do have a nifty little map that we do show, but we want to make sure that people don't have like a false sense of security that if none are detected, that they don't exist. So we don't necessarily want people to focus solely on the map. We want people to really also take precaution all mosquito season long, which is from April through October. I just pulled up information from last year so we can sort of compare, the data last year as compared to this year. We found more positive pools this year, but human cases of West Nile disease were actually lower this year. So, it really just goes to show that even though but we did find higher cases of West Nile fever and people who discovered that they had been exposed to West Nile through blood donation. So these are just, some data points that we like to share with the community. And if you find interesting, please look through. We do have multiple years going back to 2020. And then there's a multi-year chart if you're interested in sort of seeing that information. Oh, we go way back further to 1999. Interesting.
That was an interesting year. Yeah.
That's what the Dr. Fauci had, no? Right?
Fascinating.
No, no.
Okay. Well, that is our
West
West Nile
Fauci
website.
had-
And then also this was what you were referring to, Steve. I believe you were talking about the Shop Healthy NYC initiative. So it's still ongoing.
It is, okay.
Yeah, he did have
I don't know sort of the status of it, but I will definitely go back to check. And currently there are 2,000 stores participating in it throughout the city, but it looks like in Manhattan, it's East, Central, and West Harlem. I will definitely ask, before you even ask me, Steve, I will ask if it could be expanded into Washington Heights and Inwoods, because I know that is always your first question, because I did want to make note of the vaccine clinics that we are holding. So I sent Steve earlier this week a notice that the health department is holding a series of free COVID and flu vaccinations and they're starting Thursday, October 17th through Wednesday, October 30th. And the site for Manhattan is the East Harlem Health Action Center. They are open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we are not blasting it via social media because we really do want to focus on the tree neighborhoods, and that includes Washington Heights and Inwood. And your dutiful and always an advocate for the community your committee chair, Steve Simon, immediately wrote me back and said, why do you not have a location in Washington Heights? Which is a great question. So I have sent that to my supervisor. I've asked if we could potentially expand it because, of course, your concerns are valid. You know, the East Harlem Action Center is really difficult to get to for people who live all the way up in Inwood. So I have made that request. I hope that people will be able to make some changes and that we could bring the clinic closer to you. So please, if there are any updates, I will definitely let you guys know. But as of right now, the only Manhattan site for the free COVID and flu vaccination events that the agency is holding will be at the East Harlem Health Action Center. Of course, there are other locations that are also offering free flu and COVID shots. So please utilize the vaccine finder. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, I did put some flyers out on the table and sent them around to the committee members. New York Presbyterian, in conjunction, I think, with the elected officials, is offering free flu vaccines on the 23rd at the Hebrew Tabernacle at Fort Washington Avenue and 185th Street.
Right, we're co-sponsoring as well.
Oh, okay, very good. But that I wish they would do it at several other sites, not just the one at Hebrew Tabernacle. It would be nice if it was all over the community. But let me ask you about let me ask you a couple of questions. Number one, on COVID-19, there's now a new vaccine that people should be taking. Is that correct?
I believe it's much like the flu shot where it is updated typically every season, but I don't have the specifics for this one, so I will go back and ask. But yes, typically they do update the vaccines.
So it's, I think, advisable, or is DOH saying that people who already had a COVID vaccine in the past should now go and get a new one?
I think we're treating it much like the annual flu vaccine, so that we are encouraging people every season to get an updated COVID shot and an updated flu shot.
All right, so we should all be going out and getting both. And now with RSV, I clipped an article that says let me just quote a couple of sentences here. While the flu and COVID-19 often dominate the headlines, RSV represents a significant risk, particularly for Hispanic seniors, who, according to recent studies, have a higher prevalence of risk factors compared to other demographic groups. So isn't RSV another vaccine that especially older people should be taking?
Yes, older people and infants should definitely take more care when it comes to RSV. So we do encourage folks to go and get, speak to their healthcare provider. I'm not sure if there's a specific, I believe there is a specific vaccine, but let me just double check that. So I'm not giving you the wrong information, but yes, we encourage everyone, especially the elderly and the very young, because they're impacted more by RSV.
But the notice you sent me that refers to the vaccines being offered at the East Harlem Center, I think they only mentioned COVID and flu, not RSV as well.
That's right.
Right.
I don't know why, so I'm happy to go ask our immunization folks why that is, but I'm thinking potentially because it is focused on such a, it focused on more elderly and for younger children that maybe we're trying to get the general public, and so we don't have vaccines that are very specialized for specific groups, but I don't know, so I will definitely ask.
All right, very good, thank you.
Okay.
OC has a question.
Are there any new rabies reported to the Department of Health? The
Rabies cases?
Yeah.
Let me check on our website. I don't know, so let me just double check really quickly. Did I ever show you our rabies map? They have cute little animals on them. Did I ever show you that?
No,
I think we have seen it. I do remember that.
I remember.
Let me share my screen again. Hold on one second.
It's probably worth seeing again.
It's pretty. I mean, rabid animals are not cute, but in general,
No, okay.
animals are cute.
Right.
Was that-
So we have a map, and it's updated usually. And so it does have like how where they were found and in what type of animal they were.
Okay. And
But
that changed monthly or whenever
This
there
was-
is an update?
yeah, no, this was for all of 2024, and then they tell you exactly like which date they found the animal.
And
All right,
where?
all right, so no cases
where.
have been had.
No, as of right, it doesn't look like it.
Okay, good.
Hold
Well-
on. Let's just double check the map. Yep. So as of right now, this is the map.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
No problem. Thanks, OC.
Okay, you don't happen to have a map that shows where people are eating dogs and cats, do you?
Oh my goodness. I thought you wanted to have a laid back, non-confrontational
yeah.
meeting.
Oh,
I thought
okay,
this
I
is what we're
withdraw-
doing today.
Okay, I withdraw the question. All right, very good. Any other questions or comments? No. All right, thank you very much, Pauline.
Thank you.
All right. And but please don't go back and suggest to anybody at DOH that they should do that thing that I just suggested.
Don't worry, Steve. I will not ask that question. All of your other valid questions, I will go back and
Okay.
ask, but that one
Okay,
I
but-
will not.
Okay, good, please. Yeah, don't do that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
right.
Have a good night.
All right, same to you. All right, next was supposed to be a report from New York Presbyterian. Julio Batista promised me he was going to be at this meeting, and but he's not here. Let me just report that I did have a brief conversation yesterday with Dr. Colleen Cook, the Chief Operating Officer for the New York Presbyterian Columbia campus. She was here at our meeting last month, and I spoke to her about the issue concerning the inpatient adult rehab unit, and she told me that she's taking a new look at it, that she's a fresh pair of eyes, that she's going to see what she can do about the issue. So she didn't guarantee anything. I asked her, I said, please save the unit. But I'm at least, what is the phrase, cautiously optimistic. That, maybe she'll come up with a new sense and understand the value of preserving that unit.
I think that it's beyond the value of that unit. I think that since this hospital, promote itself as the best hospital in the United States, I believe, and number one and the best of the best, can't be that best if you don't have, obviously, trauma center, or we're not even getting into that. And the other thing, have that, preserve this unit. So, I mean, how can they be best if they are cutting away services, especially in a neighborhood where those services are so needed?
Well, I think maybe she heard that message at our meeting last month. So I don't know. Let's see what happens. All right, very good.
I like the fact they're rethinking it. And I
Yeah.
think that's because of her thing, so.
Yeah, I think we made an impression on her.
Yeah.
And she's relatively new to the institution, and so I don't think, maybe she doesn't feel necessarily tied down to
Did she come from a different institution?
Yeah.
Before taking that position?
Yes, I forget where did she come from?
Is it John Hopkins?
She was in Florida in a
Oh,
more of teaching role before that Hopkins.
Yeah. All right, very good. Actually, Diane, were you standing next to me when I spoke to her about this at our meeting yesterday morning? Wait,
No,
no? All right.
No.
Diane and I were at a meeting with Dr. Cook yesterday morning. And I buttonholed Dr. Cook on as we were leaving the meeting. And Diane had been sitting next to me.
So the meeting was related to this? or-
No, it was related to general issues. They have a group which they refer to as the Community Leadership Council. And they made the mistake of putting me on it at some point. And so we meet on a quarterly basis. And I think Diane will probably verify that I ask a lot of questions at those meetings.
like it's a surprise.
Yeah.
All right, well, in that case, what's not a surprise is that you're next on the agenda.
What is a surprise is how early in the evening it is. So thank you all. Only one resident is positive for COVID and on isolation. No hospitalizations in the month of September related to that. We've started administering the flu vaccine, so the numbers aren't there yet. I believe, if I'm reading this properly, we've gotten about 39% of our residents vaccinated for flu already, but that's an ongoing effort. And we're starting to administer the new COVID vaccine. So,
And do you know whether do you provide the RSV vaccine as well?
I don't know the answer to that. I would have to check. I don't know
Yeah.
the answer.
It seems like your population probably should have it.
I will ask about that. I do not know. I did
Okay.
go get the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine, and they did tell me that the COVID vaccine was updated. Thank you for the
Right.
applause.
Okay.
But they did tell me that it was updated with the latest strains, et cetera.
Right.
And I didn't
Yeah.
want to opine,
Right.
you know,
No,
while
I think
Pauline was speaking, but that's
Right.
what they told me, that
Right.
both were
Right.
updated, and you can get both at
Mm.
the same time, just to put in a commercial for that, I think.
right.
So,
Well, I think we all should be doing that.
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Were there any questions? No. All right, very good. All right, next on the agenda. We have to have our annual discussion and vote on our committee budget requests now for the FY 26 budget. At the last meeting, I think I handed out my one-page sheet. This, do I have enough copies here?
What are you referring to as the one pager?
The one that
The
just has,
responses?
the one that just has our own committee items on it. But they're on those sheets that you have in front of you anyway.
They're just in the
Yeah,
separate section.
yeah. All right, so it shouldn't be too hard to follow along. All right, so let's go through our list as
Are we starting with capital or expense?
well, I'll leave that in your, what do you want?
Let's start with capital. 'cause
Very
it's
good.
just right there.
Okay, so we had all right, so we had 4 capital budget items. Our number one item was to expedite the construction of the new garage for District 8, which is on the Upper East Side, and relocate its trucks from our district as quickly as possible to comply with the city charter's co-terminality mandate. That was number 9 on the board's overall list. And the OMB response back last June was that due to fiscal constraints, the availability of funds is uncertain. So I would argue that this should definitely remain on our list should be a high priority, that we should be saying that they should find the funds by this garage, those trucks should not be coming in and out of our district every single day. They should be
Right.
based on the city charter, they should be they should be located in the district that they serve.
Can I add something to it?
What would you like to add?
Just an update on what I see over there on 215 to 16. So they now, because of the Zeta school that on 9th and 9th and 218, they change how they parked in that area between them and the MTA. So the sanitation trucks are now parked on 215 vertically, they go like a vertical parking slots. And the additional, the MTA personnel is now parked on the street right between 216 and 218. So they changed the way they park. However, I thought that on 216, where all the sanitation trucks used to, now they're not. Now they're on 215. But the car, it's just how they parked over there. It just create on one way at 216 is clearer in terms of you can drive through and not risking yourself. On the other hand, 10th Avenue and 215 is a little bit messy and a little dangerous.
So
what
I'm learning from you is that the sanitation trucks don't even fit into the garage. They're out on the street.
Oh, they were always out on the street. Wait. Okay, but they were on 216.
All right.
They parked in like double parked on 216.
But I'm sure the garage, was built to accommodate the trucks for District 12. So when other districts are now utilizing that area, they're not going to be able to fit in the garage. They're all over the place. That's another reason why they should be relocated out of our community. There's no space for them.
Well, it's an additional. It's not the main reason why they shouldn't be in our district. You mentioned the city charter, so that's the main reason. But what I'm saying is that it just created like a new and weird kind of situation with the parking.
I think you want to say something to it.
Sure. Like, it sounds like maybe we could add to comply with the mandate and free up space in this, do you want to do something like that? Or
The chart, I think that, it's already here. The charter is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anything
Okay.
about the parking because for them, it's probably minor, even though
Okay.
it's kind of.
that was it.
All right. So
I wanted to interject I'm going to channel Eldon here a little bit. I have a question.
you want to channel?
I want to channel Eldon.
Yeah.
My question is, if we're saying that DSNY is out of compliance with the city charter and co-terminality mandate, like how long is that a tolerable situation? Like if a city agency is out of compliance with the city charter, what do we do about it? Question.
Yeah. Well, that's a.
Sue?
And that seems like a real good solution to it, but if OMB comes back and says we're not spending the money on a garage, then what can be done there? Like,
Well, this is really something the elected officials should be involved in. They should, and maybe we should be elevating this and not just having it on our budget list every year, but specifically passing a resolution, and then sending that around. So,
Do we want to talk to see if maybe the office can speak to the school and see what changed? Because the change of parking started when the school opened. It's definitely related to the school.
but isn't the school,
School is in 218.
but isn't it in a building that's been a school before?
No.
No?
No.
This is a new building?
It's a new building. It used to be like a German car mechanic there on 9th and 218.
Right.
And they sold DOE or whoever it is, but it's a charter school. So now it's there. And since they opened, everything changed.
All right, well, we'll see what you can find out about it. That adds to the question, to the case.
Maybe Vanessa can find out, I meant to say.
Jacob, to answer your question, so for example, the MTA was out of compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act in all of its stations that weren't accessible, and basically people sued, and now the MTA is basically doing this massive project to make all compliant. And part of that was basically a settlement that said like, in the next 50 years, we'll do that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Something like that, yeah.
you know,
You could see something similar happening here, whether
Yeah.
well, in the next 50 years.
right, it's, you
But
know.
that's slightly different because they can say, well, temporarily for the next 50 years,
Right.
you can take the elevator in a stop.
Right,
before or
right,
after,
there's
right?
ways around,
Here,
there's not even,
there is no,
yeah.
Well, with the MTA, at least they were making efforts to comply over a period of time. So every
Yeah.
year, they were making some stations accessible.
right,
You know, you can't really do that in this situation.
Yeah,
You know, you can't just,
maybe
you can't.
they
ta-
can take a
Take
few
a few-
trucks
Take a few.
here
trucks
and
out. I
there
don't know.
to other places,
Well,
share the burden.
yeah, well, maybe. All right, well, we
Okay.
should take another look at this later on, but for the purpose of what we're doing tonight,
Mhm.
I think we have an agreement. It stays on
Yeah.
our list. The next item we had was to install green infrastructure such as bioswales to divert stormwater from the sewer system and address climate change issues in our community. This was our number 2 priority, number 5 for the board overall.
correct.
But what, you want to keep it?
All of ours were tough.
Oh, yeah, we want to keep it.
Right.
You know, the flooding,
Okay,
the flooding on Dykeman and Fort George
yeah.
is insane every year, insane.
Yeah,
And it's probably not the only. Yeah.
All right, our third item was to continue the replacement of old water mains and sewer lines in our community.
Yes.
It was number 3 on our list and number 3 overall for the board.
Wow. Yay. Sorry.
So the comment on that one was, please contact the agency directly and promptly for more information.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
I don't know, then, that's the,
is that Ebenezer?
yeah, well, we don't follow up on these things. This is one of the problems. This is one of the problems with our board, but we just let we don't,
So
Yeah.
here's a question, since can we invite the DEP to come here and talk to us about that?
sure,
Do you know
Yeah.
anyone from at DEP or,
yes.
okay,
I do.
uh-huh. Ooh,
I was in touch with someone from DEP today. And we'll get to that later on the agenda. So yeah, we should get an updated report about their plans to replace water. You know, a couple of years ago, we had they were doing a hell of a lot of work in our community replacing water mains and sewer lines. I can't believe they finished it all. Okay, the next item,
Can I ask a question, like a clarifying question?
yes.
So if they're just saying contact the agency, what's the value in like keeping it here?
Well, I think the value is that we let them know that this is still a concern of ours.
Got it. So
Yeah.
just to signal that it's. a
Yeah,
concern,
you know, it's
not be- Okay.
It's you know, to a great extent, what we're doing here is symbolic.
Lovely.
I mean, you know,
We're advisory.
I mean, it's an opportunity for us to you know, to put things out there and let them know what the issues are that are of concern to us. And so number 4 on our list and number 7 on the board's list overall was to provide additional garbage collection trucks and street sweepers for District 12M. And if I remember correctly, I was surprised by this response.
The availability of funds is uncertain.
Yeah, I thought in the past they've told us that, yeah, here, due to fiscal constraints, the availability of funds is uncertain. And that's the kind of answer that suggests to me that we need to keep it on the list. Because we need to let people know that you gotta have funding to have garbage collection trucks. I mean, you know, how could you ignore that? In the
Well,
past,
especially because we have such a big, you know, really trying to eliminate rats, so I think
Yeah.
that it's a big issue.
I wonder if there is any way to find out if we are the only one that's getting that kind of answer, or other community
Oh.
board receive the same answer to
Oh,
that question?
yeah.
If they ask, if it's there on their, you know,
Well, I don't know, maybe Ebenezer would have to call around to the other district managers,
right?
because I don't think you can, I don't, unless this is on, unless OMB has, all of these responses on its website, which maybe they do. Maybe there's a way to check the OMB website. Maybe there's a complete, compendium of all of the responses to, the community boards, the 59 community boards, budget requests. But then you'd have to, search through every single one of them to see if.
So maybe it's
if-
easier to call the
Yeah.
other district managers and
Or-
ask.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's a question to Ebenezer.
so both, so both this one and, what's Carol's?
No, I know someone who's like on the, not like communication side, he like actually does like the work, but I think that's probably a good person.
What is that? All right, this is just, capital. All right, so both of these sanitation items. But both of them, the responses were to due to fiscal constraints, the availability of funds is uncertain. So,
I don't know what
that's
that
sort of interesting. Maybe that's just a boilerplate response that the sanitation department chose to give.
I'm
But
sorry,
also,
this is the
it sounds-
expense.
I really think we need more trash receptacles as
I
well.
think we're still talking about it.
I don't think that
The last
constitutes a capital item. It's more
But
an
it-
expense budget item.
But could it, that's what and maybe that's just it. I just want to point out that it sits as a capital, but then it also exists as a.
Well, the trash receptacles, I think let's try to fit that into the expense budget.
Okay.
All right, so are there any other capital budget items that people want to suggest?
We said that the local law 97, there was some item, local law 97, let's say, but not, I was gonna say advisors, but it was something else, but I don't know if it's under health, not under housing and, human service.
Yeah, well,
Did we pass that to them all together?
yeah, we gave that to them last year
It's very sad. Okay. All right.
because it was a program that had to be, I think, conducted through HPD.
Some of it.
Yeah. Well, last year we suggested that they sponsor the item about holding workshops for landlords.
Okay, all right, okay, now I remember, sorry, remember, okay, got it.
Okay, so how do we do we want to renumber our 4 items here, or want to keep them in the same order, or change the order in any way?
I vote to keep it in the same order.
Works.
All right, I don't know, I think. Well, I'm sort of bugged out by the idea that they're saying that the funding for the garbage trucks is uncertain. Availability of funds is uncertain, so I'm almost thinking we need to move that up on the list.
But what do you mean? It is number 1 for us.
No, the garbage,
Should
what's
stay
now
number
number
one.
4,
What's now number 4? Okay.
yeah.
But isn't that the same one that we're gonna tie in with expenses, with the expense budget?
No, her thing was about the trash baskets themselves. the
And so
re-
maybe we
receptacle.
would.
Oh,
put
this
that
is
over
the
here.
additional garbage collection trucks.
Yes, yeah,
But
yeah.
can that be added to the expense? Cause this was
No,
still higher,
no, the trucks would be a capital item.
it would be
Yeah.
capital.
Oh, yeah.
Anything above 35,000, right?
Well, they raised it to 50. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
And the one that we put as number 1, since it sort of seems to be a
oh,
city charter policy.
Yeah, I want to keep that as number one. You know, but,
But maybe make the garbage trucks number 2.
yeah, I would like to do that.
I'm
I do
fine with
too.
that.
Oh,
I'm fine with that.
all right, we have a consensus?
Yeah, I say 2 too.
Okay, very good. Okay,
But does that mean that number, what's currently number 2 will be 4? Are we swapping those out? Or was currently number
No.
2 will be 3 and then the other 4?
oh,
Cause I would prefer to just exchange them and continue a replacement of old water mains as
Okay.
number 3. being
Okay,
that the
very
board
good.
Already voted that
okay, very
as
good.
number 3 on their list.
Oh, good item.
Okay, so number 2 is number 4.
Yes,
We just
Okay,
switched
very
the
good.
order.
okay,
Yeah.
very good. All right. So that's it for capital.
Okay.
Okay, now on the expense, very good. Thank you, Carmen. Now on the expense side. So, our number one priority, and again, the community board's overall number one priority was to expand mental health services and outreach in the community, especially for suicide prevention and for those whose mental health and social engagement have been adversely impacted by COVID-19. I say we keep it as number one.
Do you know what this means? I'm thinking about the response. The agency will try to accommodate this issue within existing resources. What does that mean?
Well, that's a good question. And again,
These things,
No new money,
right.
That's what I would take from it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that is what it means.
like whatever existing programs they have, they'll just try to
Right.
say that that
Continue
addresses
those
it.
programs.
Right.
Okay.
But I
Yes,
don't,
I don't know.
but I don't think that should discourage us from listing it as as our number one priority.
Right.
You know, we'll let them know it's still, very important to us. Okay, our number two priority was to increase services to prevent and treat chronic diseases such as dementia, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and hypertension, conditions that increase susceptibility to COVID-19, as well as long COVID in our community. So that was number 5 for the board overall. Seems like a winner. Our number 3 priority was to increase substance abuse services in our community, including opioid overdose prevention education and funding for syringe cleanups and collections.
I think this should be number 2.
This is certainly still needed.
Yeah, but it does say that due to fiscal constraints, the availability of funds is uncertain. So I think we should definitely put this up.
I'll bump it up.
Well, that's my opinion.
Okay, well, let's finish going through the list
Okay.
and then see what else we might want to bump up. Number 4 was to provide funding to ensure that all local public schools have multi-service health clinics with nurses and social workers.
See, I think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, it's number 4. It's not like, there's no, we have 9.
They did make it number 3, just so you know.
Oh, that's true. The board is overall made it number 3. Yes.
And just want to add, I was at the Youth and Education Committee earlier this week. The superintendent, the new superintendent came and he mentioned that this was one of his priorities to make sure that we have health clinics, nurses, social workers in the schools, and that he was working to do that. He didn't say exactly how, but it was one of his top priorities when he asked.
Right.
Is that related to gun control in some way or just? in general? No.
But he also said that he is hoping to maybe have a multi-committee meeting. Transportation, health and the environment, public safety, he can bring us all together to address.
Why was traffic and transportation part of that meeting?
I think only because there is some crossover issues as far as public
Schools.
safety, street crossings. things like that.
Okay. All right, number 5, provide funding for more noise enforcement cameras, which should be installed in both Washington Heights and Inwood, and staff for the program, as well as for more inspectors. We really need to follow up on this. We had a very good presentation about this program, what was it, over a year ago, I guess. And we did have these cameras in our community for a brief period of time, and they were talking about expanding it, and I don't think they ever got around to it.
There was one camera, remember?
Yeah, we
We
had,
asked why we
right,
had only
right.
one.
yeah, we only had
To
one.
move it.
Yeah.
Reason to ask DEP to come.
Yeah.
What was the response?
They support the position. Oh, you're talking about,
Yeah, the agency response.
Yeah, what is the agency?
please contact the agency directly and promptly for more information, but they support it.
What
Yeah.
kind of answer is this? We did contact you. Here it is. It's on the,
Yeah, well, we
it's on the list.
we gotta follow up. We can't just, throw it out there once and then not follow up.
Okay, how do you suggest we follow up?
Well, we have a staff, they should be following up, I'm gonna,
Maybe we just put it, I'm just thinking, because I feel like things like this fall through the cracks. Maybe like every 2 months, we could have a point person on our committee to just like reach out, because I know Steve already does a lot, but I'm just thinking someone can reach out and just kind of like follow up. Like we should make one list, like an Excel sheet
So,
with like everything we've passed and just like every 2 months, hey, and eventually, because I feel like no one reminds them. So I don't think they also don't have the bandwidth or probably the resources either to just be, oh, they're like stuff like one person.
so
Yeah.
tomorrow, I believe, is the district manager, meeting. Tomorrow is where is the
Yeah,
agenda?
but like, one of
No.
us could just like, we'll just bring it up. We'll be like, hey,
You mean the
the
district-
follow-ups
the
every 2
district
months,
manager?
every 3 months, quarterly, it doesn't have to be.
See, none of us can
It's next
Yeah.
Thursday.
And none of us can do what?
do the actual follow-ups
Okay.
instead of.
I mean,
So.
district service county. But I think he's away.
He
regardless-
is, or he's getting ready to go away or something like that.
Right.
Paula said.
Regardless of what it is, maybe one of
That's
us need to be,
that's next week.
it's fine, maybe
Yeah.
one of us need, or we should ask to put that on their agenda. We never know what's their agenda, even though it should be published, but we should ask to talk about that and highlight the problem and ask them to follow up, and next month, one of us should be at the meeting again and see what's the follow-up.
Except I think of the agencies that fall under our committee's umbrella. I think the only one that would regularly attend the cabinet meetings would be sanitation.
Hmm.
Okay, well.
Which is still something,
Yeah, 'cause we do.
I asked Ebenezer recently, I said, didn't you hear from them? Don't they have any budget requests? Because that's normally what happens. Normally the district manager talks to them, at some point and gets budget requests from them. And then he told me, well, we don't meet with them one-on-one anymore over the summer, which has always been the process for years and years. And he said, I'm having a last month, he said, and I'm going to discuss it at the cabinet meeting. Did he discuss it? I don't know, because we haven't heard back.
But Carmen's idea is really good.
Yeah, we should,
Is there a way, where can we find all our old resolutions or budget? I mean, I guess we can start with these, with whatever items we have
yes,
on here.
right.
But what about like even still, all the old resolutions? How do we find that?
Well, it's supposed to be online.
I believe, I was looking and they switched to Airtable recently and I don't know if everything has been
Is on there?
like put there.
Well, I'd say this has been, I don't know. This is one of my main issues about the bylaws, that I want to incorporate into the bylaws a rule that says that the district manager has to follow up on our resolutions. I mean, it drives me nuts that we pass things and nobody follows up on them.
No, I think that was brilliant. that you brought
It was
that
a
up.
good, it's a good,
And what really concerned me was about, what was it, a year and a half ago when we passed a resolution asking the state health department to direct the hospital to reopen the psych beds at the Allen Hospital. And I kept asking Ebenezer, could you please, we didn't ever got a response. Could you call up the state health department and tell them to respond to us?
so,
Yeah, we have to do that now because we just passed another resolution asking the State Department
Yeah, I know.
to do something else. So
Yeah,
how do
yeah.
we follow up on that?
Right,
Before it's too late.
right, exactly. No, it's,
so I
I
guess,
mean, my rule, well, actually, and it goes back to, I think it goes back to the Koch administration. My rule is that you give people 3 weeks to respond. If they don't respond, then you start calling them up and asking them, to get back to you. It's,
so it's something that we should really start looking at, bringing it up at the cabinet meetings, because
well,
I
except,
don't know where else to go. It's the most time that they have because they're meeting about
Yeah.
whatever issues they need to address.
yeah, but you don't have every agency at those meetings. You only
I
have,
totally get that, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that if we start for the first meeting, said, okay, could you invite whoever we want to invite? And we should come to those meetings because they have a whole hour talking about whatever number of
Well, actually, what I mean, since we know that sanitation should be going to those meetings, then it would make sense to talk to sanitation. Do you have enough trucks? Is there a problem getting enough trucks? Is,
Right.
Where are these meetings?
here,
Here,
right? there?
Right here?
Yes, yeah,
And there's one tomorrow?
no,
no,
next
next
week.
week.
Next Thursday. Oh, so that's honeymoon.
Yeah, they're in
Yeah,
the
the
mornings.
other contention is that, there's no minutes produced from the meeting.
Yeah. And we,
No,
we-
they
and-
should have minutes.
yeah, we used to get them. Years,
Maybe they have minutes, but
years
they
ago.
don't publish it.
right, I don't know, well,
We should ask to publish this and publish the agenda so we know what's on it, right?
yeah,
What's up for the meeting.
I'd like to, we used,
Well, in
We-
the meantime, maybe we can put this in another conversation, but if anyone on
Yeah.
the committee would want to partner with me, so we can start going through the old resolutions and
Yeah.
create some kind of like running Excel.
I'd be happy to help.
Great.
And I think,
Yeah.
just to point out too, with regards to resolutions that we've passed, the board putting them into
Mm-hmm.
Airtable, there's a record all the way back to 2020 of resolutions the board has
So that's
passed.
a start.
It's a great start, and it is, we ask a lot of the staff to follow up on different things, but this Airtable is fantastic. And
Nice.
so props to them for putting this together. This-
Oh.
And
there.
maybe if our chair is okay with this, maybe we can have a standing item on our agenda, like old resolutions or old, I guess it would be under old.
Yeah, I would
business.
call it a role.
Since we'll be-
Yeah,
Forget, like, you know, like,
it's-
old business.
I think that's great.
That's a great idea.
Cause
That's
then
a-
it'll be like
that's a-
old resolutions
that-
that need follow-up.
that is the definition of old business.
Yeah, and I mean, we have
Right,
like,
but
you
we'll
know,
just forget, cause this is
recycling
general,
statistics on the old
Yeah.
business all the time, like we can
Yeah.
make it an item under that.
Yeah.
right, an
Yeah.
item like
Yeah.
a separate bullet underneath old business, like old resolutions.
Yes,
or
yes, yeah.
Follow-up or something
Yeah,
like that.
great.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I
I think
love it.
Just remember that.
I,
you
I,
know,
oh,
for the next agenda.
oh, I'm never gonna forget it. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe by the next meeting, if Dave and I get a chance.
But
to
also,
connect and do this,
but I
we can
think,
start.
what's, I would not necessarily focus on the resolutions, because this committee doesn't pass a hell of a lot of resolutions. And then some of our resolutions, I think,
Well,
are
we can start with
probably,
these.
yes,
Yeah.
no, the budget stuff,
Sure.
yes, we should focus on this budget stuff.
And if you need, I mean, if there's an opportunity and Ebenezer can't do it, make phone calls to these
Right.
agencies. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm happy to make a phone call to an
I don't know, like,
agency.
Right.
Just would
could
have to
one
find,
make
you know.
a, hello, I'm community board?
Yes,
and-
yes,
And
Yes,
call
absolutely.
as
Yes.
the member of community
Yes.
board, or have to ask
Yeah.
Catherine permission to
No,
do
no,
that?
no, well, then you.
I mean, you can speak as a
Yeah.
member of the board, you
Yeah.
just don't represent the board.
The board,
Is that
right,
I mean, you're not taking a position per se.
Right, right, right.
You're just
You're
calling,
just asking to follow up.
yes, you're just asking for
Right,
some
But
information.
you will get further if you said, hello, I'm calling on behalf of community board 12. It's supposed to, no, I'm a member, not
Right.
calling on behalf.
All right, okay, well, let me have a conversation with Catherine.
Okay.
And let her know what we have in mind, and
Okay.
I can't believe she'll object.
And I
No, she
think it
wants,
also
but-
helps Ebenezer, and certainly we're,
Right.
you know, he can give us the person, the contact and all of that.
Yeah,
Just
maybe
make the
we-
call on his
Right.
behalf.
They need to
Right.
give us a running sheet of all these contact persons for all these agencies that we
Well,
can.
it's in the
It's in
front.
here. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's literally all. I'm-
Great. I'm gonna start calling these folks
Yeah.
tomorrow. Hey.
We'll just sit down together and just go through this.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Second
Right.
contacting promptly.
I mean, that's what it says. It literally says that. So we can do that. You wanna grab coffee?
I'm in, yeah, what am I doing?
Who the hell is this?
What's tomorrow?
Okay, can we continue with the list?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, good ideas.
They have somebody listed here for the Parks Department, I think,
First
Calling
of all,
you
No
yeah.
longer?
I don't think he's been with the Parks Department in years, but okay, but the other.
We do know somebody that
Yeah,
is working for
yes,
the Parks.
yeah,
Department.
we do know someone, yes. Okay, that's a different issue, and that's out of order. Okay. Where were we here? Number 6, increase HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment services and LGBTQ services in our community. And this was,
You skipped the cameras.
no, I
No, we
mentioned that.
just went to
Mention-
that
I
one.
mentioned it.
Oh, okay,
That's one of the items I
never
definitely want,
mind.
that's
You're
definitely, that's one of the items I definitely want us to follow up on.
Okay.
Okay, so this one was, number 20 on the board's overall list. Number 7 on our list was to, increase funding for education and outreach on recycling, reuse and composting, as well as proper disposal of household garbage, in our community. That was number 18 on the board's overall list.
super important,
Now,
especially
especially now that.
Yes.
Conservation.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree.
And then really, I think, I also,
containers on the streets, that will be a
Yeah.
disaster.
no,
Okay.
the containers are supposed to be in every building now. Number 8, increased pest control efforts, to eliminate rats in our community.
I haven't seen as many rats.
No,
Just say
no,
that.
yeah.
Is-
I don't.
Is there a
think so.
sense of, no, you don't, no, because
And-
sometimes like I
and-
see them a lot, but I feel like
Yeah.
I haven't been seeing as much.
Fewer because now buildings are required to have
The
Um,
containerized.
containers, you know, yeah.
Okay.
But really, this is, this has become such a focus of this administration that I'm not, I think it's okay to keep it on our list, but I don't think we need to,
Be as
I
high.
don't think, well, it's not that high to begin with, but, yeah, it's,
So
This-
you want to move it to number 8?
well,
I think it's number
it is
8.
number 8.
I'm sorry, you want to move it to number 9?
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's, this is at least one program we know is really being funded,
Mhm.
you know.
Okay, so 9 become 8,
Well,
are we saying?
Well, we're not there yet.
Okay, we're
not
not
there.
there yet.
Okay, so what was number 9, was to increase the trash basket collection on commercial streets with a second shift, where the baskets are emptied more than once daily. This can be funded through the council's, New York City cleanup initiative as well as the executive budget. Now, you're saying that we need more trash
I
receptacles.
think, yeah, I mean, at least in our community, I think trash receptacles need to be everywhere.
That's true.
And a perfect example, Steve. I don't want to bring it up, but it's the trash problem that we had from 158 to 165, and if we had trash receptacles along that stretch, we might have less problem.
Jody, I agree with you. The other day I was walking somewhere, I don't remember, and I was counting and I was like, there's no trash can within like 4 blocks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just not okay. And then you go to some neighborhoods and they have trash cans in every corner.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do think that some of that is funded by, outside organizations, if I'm correct, but like, I hear that there's neighborhood or, there's certain trash. I
Like
don't know.
community, like CDCs.
Yeah,
community development.
No, not really, no, that's it.
I go down on
They
Broadway.
they are funded by, council members.
Oh, maybe that's it.
And so this is something, that's why we mentioned this New York City cleanup initiative, because they have a separate pot of money that they could allocate towards sanitation programs, including, which they have done in the past very often,
Well, apparently,
the trash baskets.
so
So,
fiscal constraint, the availability of funds is uncertain.
Right.
so there
Well,
was some,
everything is uncertain.
some studies that show that actually the lack of receptacles
When
actually,
people Throw
less-
garbage.
yes.
Mm.
And that's why sometimes they remove them and they will bring them back at some point. It's interesting, huh?
Well, they do that like in Japan or somewhere, right? Where they just like don't have any trash receptacles.
But at least if they're doing that and they're alternating where the baskets are, they should do it. So some areas get baskets for some time and then switch it around.
Well, yeah, I
That's
mean,
the
there
plan.
should be some regularity. You should know, as you're walking around where you can
Yeah.
find the trash basket.
Yeah. I think it's limited and I don't know the study, but I do believe that we need more trash baskets so people can throw their trash in the baskets instead of in tree beds
Yeah.
and over the walls in the parks.
Yeah.
It's hard to reach places.
All right, so,
Okay, now we are,
okay, so now
Shifting.
we're talking about moving things around.
Mhm.
There was a sense earlier that what was item number 3 should be
2.
should be moved up, number 2.
Mhm.
And just fund everything else down.
But did we want to at least look at the funding for schools for? It's a high priority for the executive board.
Yeah.
And I do personally think funding our health clinics, nurses and social workers.
I would support making that 3 and making the current 2 4.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, so who is getting number 3?
What was number 4?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Service clinics, and then
That's-
making 4 increased services to prevent and treat chronic disease.
Can you just say them by numbers, Heidi? So like what is currently 2, you're proposing is what? 4?
That's 4.
And,
Was currently 4 to be 3.
and 4-3.
Okay,
And then 3 what?
2.
2.
Well, actually, what's now number 4,
Oh, God.
To be 3.
no, it's an awfully general statement we're making there. And
The number 4?
yeah, I mean, it's a nice thing for us to say, but it's sort of all over the place. I want to keep it on the list, but I also want to focus a bit on what's now 5, 7, and 9. So, I really want to get those noise enforcement cameras. I think at this point, we need to do a better job on education and outreach, especially now that we have the composting program. And I don't think anybody really knows it's really happening. I spoke to my super. I spoke to my super today and I said, the program was supposed to go into effect on Sunday. And I said to him, do we have a compost bin? Do you have it? And he has no idea what I'm talking about. He says, oh, no, nobody told me about it. I said, nobody told you about it. He said, have you ordered the bin? You can get it for free. He said, no, I didn't get any paper. Nobody sent me anything about it. I said, oh my God.
My super said the same exact thing.
Yeah. So really, they need
So
to,
it's the management office.
Well, my building
Yes.
has it.
yeah.
My super, my super 55-year-old daughter ordered the composting bin.
Yeah,
I
that,
also was one of those
Yeah.
people that actually ordered it for my building. Like I put in
Me
a
too.
request when they sent it out.
and
So
so it's okay for a tenant to do that.
Yes.
they sent out a thing,
can.
we put in the request and I got an email acknowledging my request. And when it was thing,
I
yeah.
did the same thing,
All
and
right
they
then.
tell you
Okay.
if there is more than one person that order for your building, only one of them will get a bin.
Right.
Yeah, but who is it? Is it being delivered to your apartment?
No, it's
No,
being delivered
the building.
to the building,
Yeah.
and who knows
You
where
could
it is.
There was a period where you could get a small one for yourself that they were giving out. Is that right?
I don't
Oh,
remember.
I don't
Okay.
know about
And you can
that.
only get one, which is
Mine was for the
insane.
building.
Yeah. And so, but we'll discuss this later on. But,
Okay.
because
So do you want to change the one that we've now given?
Is your
3
big and
to?
hot?
no,
Higher?
keep number 3,
Okay.
because that's also pretty damn important. But I'd like to raise up 5, 7, and 9 and make them I don't know, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, we have 4.
But
No,
for,
well, 4, I want to
Okay.
downgrade.
Okay.
But on the noise and, yeah, so if we can make noise enforcement cameras 4, increasing funding for education and recycling, number 5, increasing the trash basket collections and increasing the number of trash baskets throughout the community would be number 6.
And then number 7 would be the funding to ensure all local public schools.
No, that's still number 3.
This one?
What was number 2 would be would be 7.
Okay.
And what was 6 would become 8. And then okay, yeah, so then 1, 2, 3, 4,
And then
5,
what
6.
was 8 will be 9.
Oh, God.
I'm already confused. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, what was 8 would become 9.
okay, we can read it, we need to read it all over again.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay, let me go through the list. Number 1 stays number 1.
Right,
The next item, increase services to prevent and treat chronic diseases, is number 7.
right.
Increasing substance abuse services is number 2.
Mhm.
Provide funding to ensure that all local public schools have multi-service health clinics. That's number 3.
Mhm.
Provide funding for more noise enforcement cameras. That's number 4.
Mhm.
Increase HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment. That's number 8.
Mhm.
Increase funding for education and outreach on recycling is number 5.
Mhm.
Increase pest control efforts is number 9. Increase trash basket collection, etc., is number 6.
Okay.
I lost track.
I think just to say, I'm not, okay, the increase, pest control efforts. It's already being done. Do we need it to be done?
Well, I want to show support for getting rid of rats.
Okay, you don't want rats?
Four,
Generally not.
eight.
Okay,
So which one, 11? What was 20 would be 8? And then 5, 9, 6. All right.
Well, if you're you're looking at that list.
Yeah,
Okay.
going down, what were you gonna say?
Well, the list that you have, does that have our committee, does it have our committee items ranked in order of?
Yeah.
1 through 9?
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be 1, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 5, 9, and 6.
Okay.
yes, okay,
All right, So-
okay.
so do we
Can I
have,
have a second, please, to just look at it?
oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I'll give you 2 seconds. 3. I'll give you 3.
4, okay,
Yeah, we have,
5. 6. I think that what was formerly number 2 is too low now as number 7. And we just heard again that, whatever you read off the newspaper, RSV, I know it's not necessarily involved in this, but I feel like this community is at a high risk of like a lot of diseases and a lot of things. And I feel like number 7 is kind of too low, especially because the board itself ranked it as number 5 out of everything. So I think it should be at least top 5 if you guys are okay with that, but I don't know.
What did the agency
I
said?
have to call you back.
Let me check.
No, I mean, it's awfully general, but it's a nice policy statement to make. It says here, the agency will try to accommodate this issue within existing resources. But listen, the fact of the matter is, you can't really depend upon the city Department of Health to address all of those issues. The medical center, this is what they're working on, many of these issues,
So-
It's beyond just this is a question that goes way beyond just the city budget.
So you're saying the private sector is gonna take care of it?
Well, the major for a healthcare provider we have
Mhm.
is the medical center, and the medical center is certainly known for programs that it has dealing with, dealing with cancer, dealing with heart disease, dealing with hypertension, dealing with,
Jody, I know
Yeah.
you're adamant about the trash collection, but because this is something that we can also work with our city council members to do, would you be okay with switching that from 6 to 7?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
No.
No, I'm just,
Yeah.
well, you're.
Yeah, no,
because.
Is that the law?
I got a Josh thing going. I'll do
Okay,
it.
all right, all right, we have a deal?
What's the deal?
The deal is to switch,
I do,
Six
yeah,
and
we're talking
seven.
about 6 or 7, I don't think
7.
it matters, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I think that
So,
we can
Could
easily.
you read it all over again so I have it correct?
well,
Okay,
So
one is one,
one is 1,
yeah,
the next item is 6, the next one is 2, next is 3, next is 4, 8, 5, 9, and 7.
got it.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to adopt the revised list? Ms. Guzman, is there a second?
Second,
Ms. Kavanaugh, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5.
Do you have anyone on?
No, there's nobody.
No, the rest of the work.
No, it's just us people here. So so I'm assuming that nobody then has voted no. Nobody has abstained. And the motion is carried. I hold it 6 people signed in.
There are 6 of us.
Yeah.
You, I don't care about yourself.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Okay, all right, so the motion carries on a vote of 6 to 0 to 0.
okay,
Okay, very good. Thank you all. Next on the agenda,
old business.
old business. So there are no new street sidewalk cleanliness ratings. There are no new recycling statistics. I did send you earlier the latest report from DEP on service requests from Community District 12 in both August and September. No surprise, in August, most of the complaints involved fire hydrants. 156 categorized as emergency calls on fire hydrants. 153 hydrants were running full. I don't know what the difference is between those two categories. And then 77, the hydrants were simply running. So most of the complaints in August appear to deal with hydrants. And actually, if you continue going down the list, there are even more that are related to hydrants.
So if they do ask you when you call 311, if it's like fully blasting
Right,
or just trickling,
right,
and this is how they assign the
right, right.
rate of emergency, so.
Yeah, but then there are other complaints here. Illegal use of a hydrant, 16. Hydrant leaking, another 9. Hydrant defective, another 7.
It's great that people are
Hydrant-
reporting this.
Hydrant knocked over or missing, 2. Okay, so and then in September, hydrants are still the number 1 item, but not to the same degree. Hydrants are running 50 complaints. Then the number 2 is now noise, construction before or after hours, 46 complaints. And then hydrants running full, 34. And if you go down the list, 8 complaints, hydrants are leaking. Illegal use of a hydrant, 6. You know, I bet that's like people who are using it to wash cars or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hydrant defective, number 1, 1 complaint. Hydrant knocked over or missing, another 1. All right, so you have all of those. You can peruse those complaints at your leisure. Okay, and then I wanted to have a discussion about the whether or not we thought the composting program got off on a good footing, and I think the sense
I
is
think we already discussed that.
we've already discussed it.
No one knows.
And we don't seem to think it did, maybe. Okay, any other old business?
Yes,
Oh, yes, what is it?
so on September, I'm spacing on, I think it
Oh,
was
I meant
19th.
I meant to put this on the agenda. Are you gonna talk,
Didn't.
are you gonna talk about a city council hearing?
Yes.
Very good, okay.
I represented the Community Board 12 at the hearing that took about 8 hours. Roughly, I think they were ahead, like, I don't know, 150 or maybe 200
One second,
people.
tell them what the hearing was about.
Oh, I'm sorry. The hearing was about TNR spay neuter services for rescuers, but also for low income pet owners, which we did produce a resolution in June and passed the resolution on the community board level. I did represent the community board and I read part of the resolution because there is only 2 minutes to read. I practiced 2 minutes with the highlight of the things that the most important thing in the resolution. It was really well attended. It was like amazing. And I'm happy to report that at least some council members are interested, want to help, willing to look at putting some fundings towards that, but who knows what's going to happen with that. So I don't know if our resolution, which I believe is we are the only community board that ever produced such resolution. I don't know if it reached the attended audience like ASPCA, ACC.
You know something, I think we need to resend it because I don't think I don't think it was sent to the right.
Add it to our list of things.
Yes, yes, it should be added to the list.
And this is
Because
really important, and the
because
reason.
It was not,
The reason why it is important is that I did contact the various government officials and tell them, hey, we are going to, we passed that resolution, help us out. And Carmen De La Rosa's office contacted me and they want to have a conversation with me about that.
Oh, very good.
So I'm not sure if she want to have a conversation with me as a community board level or as a rescuer. So I'm not sure yet, but you know,
I'd say it's probably both.
Can you do
Yeah,
both?
probably both, yeah,
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I volunteered to go to the hearing. Nobody asked me. Catherine didn't ask me if I want to go. I just, I don't think she knew that the hearing is even happening, which reminds me that generally speaking, it's one other thing we should ask the office is if there are any hearings on the city council level related to resolution that we already passed in the last, whatever, month or two, they should tell the committee, hey, this is going on in X state. Do you want to, and ask Catherine if she want to send somebody. I don't know.
Well,
It's,
really, that's something the council member offices should be telling us about. Because the community board is not necessarily informed of the city council hearings, but the council members are.
but
and,
you know
and-
about hearing on when you go online, you look at the calendar and you can see all the hearings.
Yeah, but the council members should be telling us about these things.
Which, okay, that's whatever. So that's my update about that. Hopefully I'll have more updates.
Did the committee vote on anything on the resolution? or-
They didn't vote on that yet,
Okay.
as far as I know. And I hope,
So there's a pending resolution before that council committee?
I think that after the hearing what's happened, they have to gather all the information because some people submitted comments online. And
So this was a general oversight hearing. It wasn't connected to any particular piece of legislation.
well, the legislation is to fund spay neuter.
Oh, it is. Oh,
It is.
there is something there.
Yes, there is something there.
Oh, okay.
So,
And are our two council members sponsors of that bill?
I don't know. I know that Carmen is sitting on the Committee of Health. So she was there for a little bit, but
Why don't you look up the bill and see whether or not their names are.
oh, who sponsored the bill?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Lucy,
That-
thanks for going.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to go for a variety of reasons and, I think this community board needs to be going to hearings a lot
Yeah,
more.
sure.
That's my
All right, well, thank you,
opinion.
thank you for the report.
Okay.
All right, any new business? Any announcements? Next meeting is,
No, I have
oh, yeah, well, Ms. Paulino.
There was someone, I'm also on the cannabis task force and I was on the youth and education committee. And at our last joint meeting, there was a representative from CUNY, the School of Public Health and Policy. They have been canvassing all around Washington Heights to get the community sentiment around cannabis now that we have 2 dispensaries that are open. And CUNY is doing a study to really get the people's opinions and what they feel about cannabis. And they're gonna use this data to educate, to inform, and to do tons of things. Is the only of its kind, I think, in New York City. And she dropped off some flyers and I would really encourage everyone to fill it out. Because people, they want to know what is going on and they partnered also with like CB9 and CB11, I think. And they've gotten a lot of responses, but up here, they've only gotten 72 responses to the survey, which I think is like very little.
Yeah.
So
So our 2 dispensaries are located, what,
one on Dyckman Street and
Right.
the other one is on 178th Street.
right off.
Right,
Broadway.
no, I'm sorry, 177th Street between Broadway
Right.
and Fort Washington.
Right.
And those are legal dispensaries.
Those are.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
legal,
only
yeah,
2 that are legal. Yeah, but just share it. with
That are
people
currently open.
That are currently
Yeah, yeah,
open, yes. I gave it to my mom. She's like, I hate this. I'm like, great, fill it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Spanish?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
English. So please, it takes about like 5 to 7 minutes. I'm also just really invested, so I'm really curious to see what the community thinks.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to seeing what CUNY is doing with this information. And I think it will better inform us too, in the event that more dispensaries like apply to opening in, when we'll really get an understanding of what people are feeling and what's the temperature here. And there may or may not be an extra one up here, but I'll just pass it around, but it's also been up. Here it is.
Okay.
Here it is. Well, you know, they're the same number. I don't wanna read this.
Take it anyway.
Okay, well,
I don't-
here's, oh, you're already
I
taking
did
it.
it
more
as well.
I don't
Yeah.
think I did, so I should. Yeah, thank you.
But please, and I think it's also a health and environment issue, which is why I'm bringing it up here. So thank you.
I don't think they've really been open long enough to have much of an impact.
I agree. But this is more to really understand like what people think
Right.
about cannabis, so they're happy.
More generalized.
More
questions, not
generalized,
specific
right,
to
not
the-
specific to
yeah.
the dispensaries.
I think, yeah,
Oh.
my recollection was that it was kind of like, do you think that dispensaries will have an impact on like underage consumption or like
Right.
things like that? So it's sort of like I think it's just trying to gauge like just general opinion on the effect of,
Yeah.
both legal and illegal
Illegal, right.
access to cannabis.
Just the one on Dykeman is, I think, next door to the Taco Bells that have this cantina. So cantina, they said alcohol.
Well, now what's the address exactly? Because I mean.
151 Dykeman.
It's,
You know the
it's
address
quite
by
nice.
heart.
Yeah.
Which
Happy
one?
Monkey.
The what?
one on
The-
Dykeman?
Yes, it's very spacious.
Oh,
and
it's yeah,
gigantic.
because they invited the community board for the ribbon cutting. I wasn't able to attend that, but I think Paola went, people from the office went, city council members went for the ribbon cutting. And it's pretty big. I only went there that one time where they had like when they were opening.
And what is it called? It's called the Happy Monkey?
Happy, not the happy, just Happy Monkey.
Oh, just Happy Monkey, okay.
Yes.
And what is do you know what the other one is called? What-
I do know the name, Sparkboro. Sparkboro, yes. Yeah, it's not like borough, but just BORO, so it's SPARKBORO, all one word.
All one word? Okay.
Sparkboro NYC, and that's
Okay.
on 704 West 177th
177th
Street.
Street.
Between Berwyn and Fort Washington. So yes,
All right.
please share the survey whenever you can, fill it out, it
Mhm.
takes 7 minutes. And thank you in advance.
All right, so, thank you. And, let me just mention, I've been approached by, or I've been contacted by a student reporter from the Columbia Journalism School. Are you with Columbia?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
but you're not CJ Robinson.
my class.
Oh, okay. All right, so he wants to interview with me or somebody about the On Point opioid location on Amsterdam Avenue. Hoping to get a update on usage and public reaction
Interesting.
after nearly 3 years of On Point NYC being in service. I'm also interested in the differences between the facilities in East Harlem and Washington Heights, and why it seems that Washington Heights was subject to less community criticism or media coverage.
Where is this again? I
It's-
feel
it's
like
on-
I
it's
know
right
very
here.
well.
It's on Amsterdam and 180th Street.
Across from the radio.
Yeah.
And what's there? I'm sorry, I feel like I know
It's
very
a safe
little.
injection site.
Right,
And they also do needle exchange.
Right, exactly.
And they give out and also do Narcan trainings as
Right.
well. But it's not 24 hours, like I don't know what their hours
Yeah.
are, but
Are
yeah.
people free? Can we get somebody from there to come here and present, please?
oh, yeah, well, they've been here in the past, but
Yeah.
it's time, it's time for an update.
Yeah.
Let's get in
It's time for an update.
Can you add this to your list of things or your plan?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, that might be, I've been looking for a topic for the next meeting, so that might be a good topic.
And then you guys can come and
Mhm.
see what they say.
DEP? No. DEP.
Also DEP.
And DEP.
DEP.
On water and sewer mains.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And noise cameras.
And
Oh, noise cameras, yeah, thank you. And in December, we're gonna get a presentation from the State Attorney General's office about
I like that.
it was on the agenda originally, and then I moved it about the use of like illegal pesticides or something, the public health threat
Ah,
of of illegal pesticides,
Nice.
something like that,
I like that.
right?
Like atrazine, you mean?
I know. All right, so,
Motion to.
but I hope we're in good shape on,
Second.
I hope we're in good shape on November 7th. I hope we're,
And are we
I hope
gonna have,
I hope we're in a very happy mood.
oh,
It's
Can we make the
it's
motion?
2 days, it's 2 days after election day.
yeah.
Back in the day.
Are we gonna have any, we said we're gonna have a meeting with, Housing and Human Services
Oh, yes,
in regards to local,
yes,
New York Accelerator, Local Law 97.
right. Yeah, I spoke to Mario about that. Let me talk to her
Uh-huh.
again. She seems interested.
Well, we should be interested. We
Yeah.
are talking about asthma rate and all that,
Right,
and
right.
buildings need to comply with all sorts of things.
And what was it that the accelerator was gonna be able to
The
talk to us about?
Accelerator is, an agency that actually run by New York City. It's New York City, forgot the name of the office, but, so they help for free. They will help, they will talk to landlords and, building owners in regards to compliance with local law 97, in regards to solar panels, if you want to, in regards to any environmental issues. And so, they do have recommendations, they have a list of, engineering companies that
Right,
are, New York City approved and so forth, so you can work with all of this. We need to.
okay, let me try to track them down.
Yeah,
So just so that, I know that, you want to talk to Catherine first before we start to coordinate.
but are we adjourned?
These efforts and make
Not
phone
yet.
calls
Oh.
to agencies?
Right, yeah,
Like, we'll wait to hear from you first.
yeah.
Okay.
And then let's do it systematically. Let's come up with a list.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that if you guys come up
This-
and then.
This committee will be setting,
Then let me know.
this committee will be breaking ground on a whole new way to, for a community board committee to operate. So, it's now 9:19. Hearing no objections, this meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you,
Next
Steve.
meeting Thursday,
Thank you.
November 7th
Yes, Thursday the 7th,
at 7 p.m.
assuming we still have a country.
Yeah, huh? We
That'll be a
have,
fun meeting.
we will have a country for a few,
Yeah,
plenty,
right.
yeah.
1 second, I gotta turn this thing on.
That's
Thank
gonna
you,
be
guys.
11.